Well, as credit markets have tightened around the country in response largely to the subprime housing mortgage crisis, lenders to students have gotten extraordinarily selective, and we think unfairly so. Patty Murray in the Senate and myself in the House have introduced a resolution, while others introduced that I co-sponsored in the House, that have said if these lenders are going to receive taxpayer support in the form of insured student loans, then they can't discriminate. The fundamental problem is this. Lenders are saying that they will not provide loans to people attending community colleges or some vocational colleges, only to the four-year schools. And now, from the lender's perspective, their argument is, well, we make more money on loans to four-year schools. But, you know, in Washington State, we have a very strong and capable network of community colleges, and many families, that's how they budget to afford their college education for their students or their children, or sometimes returning students as well. So when a lender says, you can't borrow money from us to go to community college, only to four-year schools, we believe that's discriminatory. And again, Senator Murray led the way in the Senate. I followed up with a bill in the House, and we're saying you cannot discriminate based on where someone goes to school.
Is it very covert? I mean, is it one of those things where the banks actually publicly pronounce that they're not going to loan to community college students, or is it something kind of undercover?
Well, it's both, actually. There are a number of lending institutions that have basically made it quite public that they won't provide loans to community colleges anymore. And then there are others for whom it's more covert. When you go to them and apply, then they ask you questions, where do you plan to attend school, et cetera, et cetera. And if it's a community college or a career and tech school, they just won't issue you the loan. And again, our point is, look, these are federally guaranteed loans. So these lenders are using the faith and credit of the taxpayer to back up these loans to give them assurance, and yet they're saying, but we won't lend to some of those taxpayers' children or to the taxpayers themselves. And that we just think that's unfair, and our bill says, look, if you want to receive federal support to insure your loans, then you cannot discriminate based on where someone goes to college.
Now, you and Senator Patty Murray have introduced legislation or will introduce legislation that would essentially ban this practice?
Yes, indeed. Senator Murray in the Senate and myself in the House of Representatives. It's a very simple bill. It basically just says that lenders can't discriminate based on the traditional category of gender, ethnicity, religion, etc., but also says neither can you discriminate based on where someone chooses to go to school, providing it's an accredited school. We're obviously, you want to make sure these are accredited schools, but that certainly applies to all community colleges in our state and to many, many career and technical schools as well.
Now, some people who are in the industry, the lending industry, feel that if Congress were to do that, things would become more difficult for anyone to get a loan. I'm sure you've heard the explanations. Your feeling about that?
Well, my feeling is, you know, I actually am an advocate of the direct student loan program, where students receive the money directly from the government through a government-based loan program. But these lenders, remember, these are federally insured student loans. The lenders are indemnified against backhand risk to a large degree. So they basically get to carry substantial profit at minimized risk, and that minimized risk comes thanks to the taxpayer. And if the taxpayers are going to give them that benefit, then they have to give a benefit back to the taxpayer. And, you know, take any of the communities in my district. The sort of standard model in Southwest Washington for many, many families is for economic reasons, for convenience reasons, and for quality reasons. People often go to a two-year college for the first 2 years and then to one of the branch campus extensions for the latter two. They simply could not afford to go to a four-year school. So the irony here is people who may be most in need of lending in order to help them afford school are the very people who these lenders are refusing to loan money to. That's just not right.